Good morning, everybody. We're going to be creating a design using the photographs you took this morning. So this will be called Explosion, and we're going to have the width be 7 inches, the height be 8 1/4 because we're going to print this out and put it into our lab book. Resolution should be 300 because we want it to be output that way. If we're just going to do it on the web, we'd keep it at 72. Because we're going to print it out, we'll keep it at CMYK. If it were to be just on the web, we'd do RGB color. And we're going to hit create. All right, so you've taken the photograph of yourself and of the WSSU background. In my version, I'm going to use the Center for Design Innovation as the image and one of the basketball players since I didn't take a photograph of myself. The only place where you still have to find an image and find it correctly is on Creative Commons. And so if you go to Creative Commons, you can look either in any of these different areas for whatever you want to use, something you use for commercial purposes or to be able to modify. I just put Explosion in here and hit return. And it gives all these different examples right in here. So I looked through for quite a while and I like this one right here, so I chose this. You can choose this one or you can choose another one. You may want to be more creative and find something. So spend a little time to find what you want to work with. So in Photoshop, we're going to create layers. We're going to create a layer that's called background. And it shows up over here. We're going to create a layer that's called explosion. We'll create a layer that's called body. And we're going to create a layer called text. And whenever you want to work on one of these layers, just select it, and that will be the layer that you're working on. And it'll be easy to go back and fix these. So in my background, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a file and place it into this space. So I'm going to go up to Open. And I'm going to pick from the image that I had. So yours will be coming from your phone, maybe sent to your email and then download to your computer. So here's mine of the Center for Design and Innovation. I'm going to do select all. And I'm going to copy it. And I'll go back to my project and I'm going to paste it there. You can see it's too small. So I'm going to edit, transform, and scale. If I hold the shift key down while I pull this corner, it'll stay in proportion. So it looks pretty good. I hit the check mark and it's there in my background. Go to my explosion next, and this is what you will find in Creative Commons. So I'll go to Open. I know it's in my downloads. I'm going to do select all, copy, go to my explosion, and I'm going to paste it on the explosion piece right here. So how big should this be? I think it should be larger than this. I want it to be just a little bit larger than my figure. and it's going to go off the page here, but because of my page sizes, it will crop it automatically. So I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Scale. And that might be right. If it isn't right, I can always go back to this layer and change it. So this is just a layer that I'm working on. Third layer I'm going to bring in is, sorry, I hit the check mark. Third layer is going to be the body. Bring that in. This will be the one that you have taken a photograph of. Select all, copy. Now I'll go to my explosion. And if I'm on the body layer, I hit paste, Control V, there it is. Now this one I don't want to take up the whole page because I'm going to explode outward. So I'm going to make sure my body stays a little bit smaller than the full composition, but it still needs to be larger than this. Hit my Shift key so I stay in proportion. And I have a feeling that because he's looking down, he's going to explode going upwards, like, you know, he's moving up off the ground. So I think I want to put him with his feet pretty close to the ground like this. Hit my check mark. Okay. We'll come back to the text at the end, and I may not show you that. That'll be easy enough for you to do on your own. But first what we need to do is we need to clean up this body. We don't need all this area around it. I'm going to erase all of this area, and then I'm also going to erase the area around the fire as well. I'm going to use the eraser tool, and this is something that you're going to figure out pretty easily. You don't have to do a lot of watching every single step, so you may want to scrub through this part. But just for the sake of seeing what I'm doing, I'm going to let this video show you every step of the way. So if you have a question, you can kind of come back to it. But once you know that all we're going to do is move from body to explosion and erase away, you may want to scrub through this part. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I'm going to change the size of it to make it go just a little bit faster. I'm going to use the large erasing head first to get the biggest areas, then I'll come back with the smaller one for detail. Make a mistake, just go back to Edit and Undo, and if you'll stop every once in a while, that way it will only be undoing the last thing. So if you hold it down the whole time and you make a mistake, it'll go all the way back to the beginning, which is frustrating. Okay, so just as for example, if I accidentally do make a mistake and erase, all I have to do is go up here to Edit, Undo Eraser, and the last step I did gets fixed. I'm going to use the Command plus sign, zoom in, get some of these details. So I'm going to move to a smaller brush head from 188 down to 55. Now for some of the finer detail, there's lots of different tricks that you can use, but one of them would be just to use the magic wand tool. And that's going to be within here. So click this icon and then go to magic wand tool. And then depending on the threshold, which is up here in this area, you can click an area that and delete it. You can see that my threshold is really large, and so it's picking a large area out. So if you go for a smaller number, let's try 30. It picks a little bit less. So you can see right now it's picking all the red that's right in here, but also a little bit of the red that's in the body. So it's still too large. Let's go down to 15. Back in there, and now you can see that it's just picking that small area out, and I hit delete. Oops, too much. Undo delete layer. Back. Tolerance a little bit more than that. 25. And so on throughout the body. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to stop where I am right here. But this is the idea that you just go in here and pull out some of those areas. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out, and I think that my explosion is going to be okay the way it is, but I need to get rid of all of this landscape around it. So I go to my explosion layer and I do the same thing. Again, you may want to scrub through some of this because all I'm doing is erasing away what's not the explosion. And I'm going to use the magic wand tool for this. All right, so I still got some junk on here. So I'm going to use the eraser tool. I can see that I've got some junk on there from the earlier one, so I'm just going to go back to body real quick, erase off that spot, back to my explosion layer. Alright, now I think that the way this explosion is happening right along in here, the way I erase it, it's a little rough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase just a little bit of it, meaning that I'm going to let you see through it a little bit. So I'm going to erase, I'm just clicking on it until at the bottom it starts to disappear as if it's mysteriously coming into space. So that's just with 16% opacity. I'm just kind of softening up the areas a little bit, as if you can see through it. That makes it a little more believable. All right, so here's my character. Remember, I'm going to have him explode up. I've got a text to do later. Body I've cleaned up. I could probably clean it up a little bit better, but for the experiment today, you can see what I'm doing. Explosion background. I'm leaving the background alone. So now I'm going to start to break the body up. All right. So you can do it with the marquee tool, or you can do it with the lasso. I'm going to do it with the lasso tool. So make sure you're on your body. I'm going to take that arm. I'm going to copy it, or I can show you up here. So copy, and then I'm going to get rid of it, and then I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to move it. So arms moving up here like this. Do this again. Back to your body. Copy. Paste. And then move. Then I'm going to take his head. Go back to your body layer. And then I'm just going to slice up his body, but I'm going to leave his feet where they are. So the next spot, I'm going to take the chest, go back to the body. So I think this should be broken apart. So within that same layer, I'm going to break this apart. Back to 4, move it. All right, back to the body. Oops, I accidentally moved this. And you can see I've got a little bit that I haven't cleaned up. There's that little triangle hanging there, so I need to go back and fix that. So while I'm on that layer, I'm going to go up to my eraser tool. Got a huge eraser, but it's only on this one layer, so I won't erase that other leg while I'm on that layer. So I'm going to go in there. I need to deselect a little piece of that on there. Alright, got rid of that. Alright, so I'm going to zoom out and kind of see what I've got here. That's okay. I think if I were to do this for myself, I'd probably break the arms up a little bit more. I might even have the separate fingers up here blown apart, but for the demonstration today, you get the idea. Alright, now that I'm finished with the body, I've got a mess over here with all of the layers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the body all one layer now. And so I'm going to hit Shift, clicking the top one, and I'm going to merge these layers together. So you see now they're all in one layer. If I need to go back and mess with it, I can. But it just makes it a little easier for me to see this. This is just something that I do. Another teacher might do something a little bit differently. So now with the text, what we want to do is we want to figure out what we're going to say. What's going to be the word that goes across here, and where are we going to put it? And this is back where we were talking about the location of line. Would the line of text be across the middle, be across the bottom? We don't want to cover up the shoes. To me, the shoes are really key. It's like he's exploding up from that. So I'll probably do it across the middle. How you put your text on there is going to be up to you, and I'm going to leave this a little bit more up to what you want to do. But for example, what you would do is you would choose your font, and I know some of these, so I want one that's bold, that's going to stand out. So I'm going to choose Impact, and I'm going to use the word kaboom. All right, now I can move this around, figure out the right location for it. I can also go back to text, and when there's a box on the cursor, that means you're creating a new spot. But when the box disappears, that means that you are part of this piece of text and you can select it. So I'm going to select it. I think it needs to be larger. So you can choose a number. You can also write your own number in there. If you know it needs to be much larger, you can just write it in there and hit return. This looks like it's going to be way too large. So let's make that a little bit smaller. And then you can move this. All right, I think that looks pretty good right there. Now, you can also change the color of your font. So go back to your font, let it change away from that square, go up here, and change your font. And you can see that in real time, those changes. You can also choose a color that already exists in your composition. So do you see how this green grass makes it more harmonious? It kind of fits into the landscape, or the color of the building behind it, or the color of the explosion. Now that might be what I want. That looks good. So I might make it just a little bit darker, hit OK. And then one other thing that you can do is down here in Effects, create a stroke around it. I think I'm going to use that green that we had before as my stroke color around it. And the size of it, make that a little bit larger. "10 pixels, I think, is enough to separate it. So now we see this line around it. It helps it separate a little bit from the background. Okay, well, in a nutshell, what you've done is you've worked with text and image, you've worked with your own photograph, you've worked with a Creative Commons photograph that you can legally use, and that's pretty much it for today. You can also break up your letter forms into individual letters and have them also be in different spots. So for example, you could come in here and get rid of all of this, and then come up into a new spot, put your A, then put your B, your O, and work with it that way. Now again, you can go back to all of these, you can merge them, and then you can give them the same effect that you did before. So they're all exactly the same with that same stroke. 10 stroke, green, okay. And now they have all those on there. All right, well, good luck with yours. Have fun with it, and let me know if you have any questions.